was another loss for Xi, and the CCP is, and apologies if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Lai Ching-te
Yeah.
won the Taiwanese election, and he's part of the Progressive Party, in a lot of ways pretty anti-China. So can you maybe highlight who he is, what his party stands for, and why this is actually a big deal for the CCP and their outlook on China, whether it be militarily, politically, socially, whatever?
So he's a medical doctor, actually, and he joined the party, the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, very early on because he wanted to use his knowledge and skills to help the party. Then he was involved in many aspects of, like, he was during his time as a member of the parliament, the Taiwanese parliament. He was so as a legislator, he was always seen as the Taiwan independence guy. He was also participating in things like human rights stuff, freedom stuff, and he was always seen as a very bold politician in the sense that he wasn't afraid to say things that would anger China. And at a time, this is like early 2000s, when he became the vice president under Tsai Ing-wen, which is the last 8 years. It was always seen that he was likely going to succeed her in running. And Lai has basically promised to continue the last 8 years. Now, the reason why this election was so important is because there's a sort of a curse in Taiwan is every 8 years you have a party switch. It happened with every single president since it democratized. So every 8 years there's a party switch. But then the DPP broke that curse with this election. So now they're going to be ruling for 12 years, potentially 16 if comes to that. But Lai is somebody that, in my personal view, is the best president to preside over the next 4 years, because there's an all important date 2027, right? If China does decide to do something, then at least in Taiwan, you have somebody who isn't going to just give up, because the other two party candidates, they're really about discussing and talking with China. Lai is more about, we have to just maintain the status quo and say, no, China, we're not letting you do anything. We're going to talk with you only if it is up to, say, for you to give up the invasion plan. Otherwise, talks are useless, pointless against China. And so with the continuation of DPP and Lai, you're going to expect pretty much the same thing that's been happening for the last 8 years. You're going to have more congressional delegations visiting Taiwan. You're going to have more countries directly connecting with Taiwan. You're going to have more military, like weapon sales. You're going to have, I guess you would say, a more resolve in the Taiwanese population. And I think there's also an indication of the identity shift in Taiwan. Now, Taiwan has always been seen as a part of China issue when you're talking about this, right? You talk about Taiwan, it's either you argue over whether it's a part of China or not, or you say that Taiwan is a legacy of a party that was defeated and went to a different island. But now I think Taiwan, every election after this one is going to be more about parties and people freely choosing who they want to vote for, rather than having to worry about what the mainland thinks of them. In other words, I think the so-called status quo about Taiwan is slowly evolving into less and less of an importance, because the younger generation of Taiwanese people, they're born in Taiwan, they grew up speaking Taiwanese or speaking Mandarin, but with the Taiwanese culture, they really don't have any ties with the mainland of China anymore. So to them, Taiwan is a country, whether whether what China says Taiwan is a country or not. Taiwan to them is where they grew up. That's their country. So I'm not saying that everybody go declare Taiwan as a country, but I am saying that even if other countries don't recognize Taiwan, the people in Taiwan, they've been allowed to freely choose. And that's why I actually think it's hilarious, because you notice this time, China didn't really respond that aggressively. Like, they didn't do a bunch of flyovers or things like that.
Yeah.
They actually spent more time criticizing the American government, Canadian government, Australian government, saying that you shouldn't congratulate Taiwan. I think that because implicitly it means that the Taiwanese people are being recognized no matter what China says. So Lai's election as president is really an indication that the world has moved on from China's argument that this is some sort of an internal issue. People have moved on from the historical disputes over Taiwan to, let's just face it, today this is the reality. We're just going to deal with what's present and slowly kind of ignore that. Now, I'm not saying that history is going to go away, but that's always going to be part of the Taiwan issue. But I think people are more focused on what's present. I think that's what the state of Taiwan is now. Is they're no longer a part of China in the argument that Taiwan gets to do their free elections. They can do whatever they want. And they're no longer a part because other countries see it that way too. They just don't openly, officially say it. That's all. Yeah.
So I've heard theories too that one